Hey guys, you got to get into one of my all-time favorite Terrence Malick films, The New World, which I've only seen the director's cut one time, but it instantly blew me away. It's just one of the greatest films ever made. That really is just right up there with all of Terrence Malick's best masterpieces because this is just really getting into the gist of just yeah, again, like all Malick films typically have kind of a conflict between like just peace within nature, and then just something coming or a force greater than all that coming around to corrupt it. And I think that's just one of my all-time favorite timeless just kind of themes to explore. And just again, Colin Farrell, Christian Bale, all these actors are particularly those two particularly are my favorites of this film because this film definitely is out to kind of capture the dark side of man's nature, but yeah, it just really feels like there's just so much here that really is just like kind of good. Again, just like it makes you just kind of wondered by just the idea of just coming to America for the first time, discovering all this land for the first time, all the Indians, and it kind of captures a lot of good nature Indians, who really love the land around them, and it's ultimately a tragic love story. Men and women fall in love, then divine forces split them up, and then yeah, the rest of the film is just like this man trying to figure out how to live without that love that was sort of promised to him in a sense. So it's just extremely poetic how it plays all this out, and I mean, yeah, this is just really further evidence. I think this is the closest in tone to what Terrence Malick was doing with The Thin Red Line, although outside of Colin Farrell and Christian Bale, not as well known in a cast, but it's an equal feeling of just a bunch of characters in their element. Again, just the contrast of just Indians and people who just love this newfound land can kind of contrast with just, yeah, those who come to corrupt it and corrupt everyone's soul as well. So, and it's just extremely human and an extremely strong just take on the narratives sort of on this kind of like story that's often untold, but this has happened so many times in history. Like as so many of these films have kind of pointed a finger towards. So, I mean, the director's cut alone, I couldn't imagine this in the theatrical version because I mean, this had to be like a 3-hour epic. I feel like just seeing everything, all the detail. It's like just a very rich film. I've only seen it once, so again, this is just a film that's just always stuck with me and as a very straightforward kind of masterpiece. Because again, it's just like a Pocahontas kind of. It's like my favorite telling ever of a Pocahontas like story. I mean, that structure is kind of taken to the. I think Terrence Malick is the best man possible to take on that kind of story. I mean, a lot of pain in this film. It really does relate in a lot of ways. When I rewatch it and think about it, like scenes, it's just like it holds up magnificently. I'm like, okay, this is kind of perfect, just as perfect as what Terrence Malick was doing with The Thin Red Line, and this is kind of his bridge up to Tree of Life, and just more just kind of getting straight to the spiritual shades in a lot of ways, but. Yeah, it's just like again, Terrence Malick just captures just nature with just the best kind of simplicity, just how beautiful this country is and how crazy people are, basically by contrast. So, this is you grow up in a Terrence Malick, it's just how beautiful this world is and how crazy people are. But the editing here is just really smooth. I don't know, it's a timeless film. I could watch this. I want to watch this again soon. I mean, it's one of those films I first saw that I was blown away, but then I didn't even think about it. Sometimes the best films operate that way. It's not like I actually sit down and think about it all. Like some I think about it all the time. Others like this, I don't think about it all the time. When it comes to me, it's just about the most powerful feeling ever. So I might as well, it might as well just be ahead of me. Maybe I ought to think about it more often. Which is what hits me with The New World. I just want to think about this film. So when I do, it takes me to the most wonderful, transcendent kind of place because it just makes sense the way the organic romantic downfall happens, in a lot of ways. And it just feels like life is just like a river. It just keeps moving no matter what happens. And it just feels like a spirit is possessing the soul. Like something of a fever dream is being captured that doesn't end up adding up, but it still just kind of shows just what it felt like to have that potential for it to be there. And that in itself can be the best drama ever. Again, how a man moves forward and that kind of thing. That's one of the best foundations. And this is one of the best films ever at capturing that, I think. Just great atmosphere, great music. I mean, great. Again, probably Terrence Malick, like in his most down to earth, with still like just he's ever been. Perhaps I really love seeing Terrence Malick in the down to earth mood. Like it's really cool. Again, I would say The Thin Red Line comes the closest to this tone. This is just its own kind of masterpiece altogether. Really, I mean, golly, cinematography is perfect. Emmanuel Lubezki's work is just some of his all-time best here. And yeah, it's a masterpiece the entire way through. It's one of the most well-written, one of the best dialogue. And it does feel like it kind of just storytelling. It just gets extremely depth with the emotional spectrum. And a film that reminds me of also is A Hidden Life, which he made in 2019. I love that film too, but I think this one in the end hits me just slightly further as a timeless masterpiece. But Yeah, it's one of those films. It may seem a little challenging, it may seem a little boring, but I think if you just kind of give it the time, it's kind of life changing what it's doing because it's its own language that's basically like telling you history with the most entertaining, fascinating, and just deep way possible. That ends up feeling just makes me thankful to be alive, makes me happy to feel things. That everything from happy to tragedy. Just to feel it all and to embrace it all and to understand that reality's crazy, but we can be happy in our individual selves by our outlook on life and our way of life. I think the New World is just such a masterpiece at exploring all this. So it's just a feeling that this film leaves me on ultimately. I mean, it leaves me feeling something very strong. So I would love to rewatch this again soon. There's just only so much I could say about it. It's the most beautiful experience. I mean, it's ahead of me, ahead of my time. It's ahead of its time. Still catching up to it. I feel like it's perfect. I recommend this film to everybody. The New World.